The question of where humanity came is as old as time itself. Ever since humans decided to come together to build society and civilization, our ancestors have tried various ways of explaining our origin. The story of Adam and Eve from the book of Genesis is only one of the many creation tales that exist in every possible culture in the world. Now, thanks to the technological advancements and scientific research we have experienced in the past few hundred years, we have a clearer picture of where we might have come from. Or do we? Since the publication of Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species in 1859, there has been a raging debate between people who believe we're divinely created, aka the creationists, versus those who insisted we were the product of a very slow evolutionary process of life on Earth, aka the evolutionists. These two hypotheses are so contradictory that until now, there has been no compromise. A person can either believe we have been especially made, or that we are just somehow the winner of an evolutionary lottery and become the most advanced species of animal today. It's the classic science versus religion debate. No in between. Well, that is, until a theory about the involvement of Anunnaki in humanity's creation had come to light. The story of our beginning from the civilization that began it all. Before we delve in deeper into this crazy but probable theory concerning the Anunnaki and humanity's origin, let's first set our imaginary time machine in 5500 BC to 1800 BC summer. The Sumerians are the earliest known civilization to have lived in Mesopotamia, and maybe in the whole world as well. Well, it's true that the recent discoveries of sites such as Göbekli Tepe and the mysterious mounds in North America might challenge this established notion. The Sumerians have left written and mostly decipherable records and allows us to illustrate what kind of life they exactly lived back then. In fact, it's a common belief that the Sumerians invented writing, or at least they were the first one to utilize it. For Sumerians, their language is written in the cuneiform system and preserved in tablets. These cuneiform tablets contain some of the most important information about one of the earliest civilizations known to mankind, including the story of our creation. If you want to learn more about the Sumerians, we have a detailed documentary dedicated to their mysterious history and progress. The link to this video is in the description. Who are the Anunnaki? According to Sumerian mythology, humans and the earth itself in some cases, depending on which creation myth you've read, were created by the Anunnaki. Basically, the Anunnaki are a group of gods and goddesses whom the Sumerians worshipped. According to the myths, the Anunnaki are the descendants of the sky god An and Anu, and the earth goddess Ki, hence the name Anunu, which literally means offspring of An. Among the Anunnaki, there was Enki, or E, who was the god of water, crafts, knowledge, creation, and wisdom. Even though his name Enki literally translates Lord of the Earth, Enki has dominion over water, particularly subterranean water, where it was said that all fresh water came from, including lakes, streams, and rivers. Enki and his consort Ninhursag, also known as Ninmah, lived in this place and called it Abzu. In one particular myth, the lesser gods were sent down to create the earth. However, it wasn't long after that they complained about their hardship to Nema, a creator deity usually associated with water. Taking pity on them, Nema turned to her son Enki, the god of crafts and creation, to help the lesser gods out of their misery. Nema persuaded Enki to wake up from his slumber and create a substitute for the lesser gods. Enki then formulated a plan in which to bring forth a new creation. he instructed his mother to knead clay taken near Abzu and shape them into humans. With the help of a womb and midwife deities, as well as his own wife Ninma, Nema undertook the great task. After the clays were made, she put them in her womb and gave birth to the first humans. To celebrate the important event, the gods had a feast. In their drunken state, Enki and Ninma made a bet. Ninma proclaimed that she could cast whatever deformities that she wanted upon humans. Enki countered her by saying he could balance whatever she could dish out. Thus, Enki showcased his prowess as the god of wisdom and knowledge. Not only did he figure out how to create new beings, but he gave a place for everyone despite their afflictions. Another myth that features Enki is also an interesting one, mainly because it's a plot very similar to a story you've probably heard about. Yes, you guessed that right. Enki himself is also featured in a famous flood story. This time, one that comes from Mesopotamians. According to this story, a long time has passed after the gods created the Sumerians. A catastrophic flood is set to destroy humanity. In one version, Enlil, the chief of the gods himself, was enraged by the noise made by humans, so he sent down the flood. All the other gods agreed to his plan and made no attempt to prevent it from happening, except for one, Enki. Enki then went down to the earth and warned Zecharia, a Sumerian king and priest. He instructed him to build an ark to save himself and a number of other creatures worth saving. Zecharia survived the flood. When the water receded, Zecharia made a sacrifice to the gods, particularly Anu and Enlil, for their mercy. Now appeased for preserving mankind and animals, Enlil rewarded Zecharia immortality. If you like what we do, support us by subscribing to the channel. There was also another major myth of Enki concerning how the Mi, divine decrees or attributes that are crucial for the advancement of civilization, culture, and technology. Enlil first gave the Mi to Enki, and then Enki gave them out to the major cities in summer, including his own, Eridu. One day Enna, another major Sumerian deity, and the daughter of Enki in this tale, feasted with him. Again, in his drunken state, he gave all of the Mi to his daughter. It was too late when he realized that Enna had taken all of the Mi and left for the city Uruk. Enki never got the Mi back. Even though this frustrated him at first, because as the god of wisdom, he was tricked in his own territory, Enki eventually admitted defeat. Those were the three major myths concerning Enki. Now you might be asking, those were just regular stories from Sumerian mythology, right? At first glance, they were. 2 centuries or so ago, when these tablets were discovered, it was regarded as nothing but mere mythology and legend. That is, until someone in the past few decades noticed something strange about these tales that would not have been considered before, simply because we lack the basic understanding of what outer space is like. What if the Anunnaki were actually aliens, and that the above-mentioned stories regarding Enki were historical events in disguise? The Alien Creator Theory. In 1976, Zecharia Sitchin published the first of the series of books that would challenge the fundamental view that Sumerian tablets tell more than the mythology of the world's widely accepted, first known complex civilization. According to Sitchin's The 12th Planet, a large portion of known Mesopotamian mythology actually retells how an alien civilization, aka the Anunnaki, came to Earth and created the humans. In Sitchin's book, the Anunnaki were actually residents of a distant planet in our own solar system called Nibiru. Nibiru is said to be located so far beyond Neptune, revolving around the Sun every 3,600 Earth years due to its absurdly long elliptical orbit, which is the reason it's largely unknown to those in Earth. The residents of Nibiru are highly advanced, and thus are able to accomplish feats of scientific projects easily. The problem is, the planet is dying. Its atmosphere is slowly becoming unable to support life. To prevent this impending doom, Anunnakis mine gold to use it to restore their planet's atmosphere. However, since gold has been depleted on the native planet, they had to look for gold elsewhere. The Anunnaki sent their own workers, who in the original mythology narrative were called lesser gods, to Earth to mine gold. Perhaps in the eyes of the ancient Sumerians, all inhabitants of Nibiru belonged to a race of godlike beings, but the group they called lesser gods made low-ranking officers dispatched by the rulers of the planet, aka Anu, Enlil, Enki, and the other gods. So, to Earth did these workers go. They did so successfully for some time until the workers grew exhausted and dissatisfied with the endless mining. They voiced out their concerns to the high-ranking officials on the planet. Fearing a mutiny, the others asked Enki for advice, who, according to Sitchin, was the chief scientist of the Anunnakis, and thus he conceived a plan. Like what happened in the myth, Enki did indeed suggest the creation of a new species, aka humans. However, unlike the quite straightforward and more fantastical process detailed in the original myth, Enki and his companions instead created the new race of beings through genetic engineering. They called it the Lilu, Emilu, which means primitive worker. The Anunnakis chose a few specimens belonging to a race of primitive inhabitants on Earth, the Homo erectus. They recognized that they have at least some intelligence, as they are able to destroy traps and fill up its laid out for other animals. However, that's not enough. Enki knew that he had to be more capable than that if they wanted them to do more complex tasks. Not in the same level as them, but enough to understand and execute commands whenever needed. So taking a few specimens of Homo erectus, Enki Ninhursag and the rest of the Anunnakis responsible for the project of creating a substitute race started on the task. Led by Enki, they combined the DNA of Homo erectus and Anunnaki via a procedure we in the current era are very familiar with in vitro fertilization. Using his own seminal fluid, Enki combined it with the egg cell of the Homo erectus female. The embryo is then taken in by his wife, Ninhursag, who acted as its surrogate. Although it's worth noting that in our earlier tale, we mentioned it was his mother, Nema, who became pregnant with this hybrid human. In other stories, it was Ninhursag or Ninma herself who bore the task. Remember the tale of Enki and Ninma having a contest to which Ninma gave defects to the humans while Enki would find their place in society? Sitchin connects this tale as the trial and error process in which the two Anunnakis and their companions underwent in creating the first human. Enki and Ninma actually went through a lot of trial and errors before the perfect human was achieved, after which they used him as a mold in which they would model all the humans that followed. This was also mentioned in the myth, in which the birth of goddesses bore 7 males and 7 females, who became the first pairs of Homo sapiens to have ever existed. The wise and learned, double 7 birth goddesses had assembled. 7 brought forth males, 7 brought forth females. The birth goddess brought forth the wind of breath of life. In pairs were they completed. In pairs were they completed in her presence. The creatures were people, creatures of the mother goddess. When Enlil, the highest ranking official of the Anunnaki pantheon, found out about what his brother had done, he was enraged and mortified. However, because the gods absolutely needed the existence of a working race, he let the matter go, for now. The humans created by the Anunnaki, moreover, was sort of incomplete. Made only to shoulder the burden of work to mine gold on the planet, they weren't allowed to procreate. The Anunnakis, having perfected the creation of the hybrid race, in which they have absolute control over, don't need them to do so. They could just create clones of this human as many times as they want. But Enki, always the benefactor of humans, shared information on this regard or might have even directly participated in helping mankind obtain the ability to procreate. How and why Enki did so, nobody knows for sure. But what's clear is that Enki gave them a forbidden knowledge which could help them stand on their own. Don't miss the next part of the video, where we're going to try to find out what is happening to humanity and the mysterious role of the Anunnaki in its creation and development. We'll go deep into the hypothesis that presents the connection between the biblical text and Mesopotamian mythology, revealing shocking parallels between Enki and the serpent of the Garden of Eden, leading us to the hypothesis that the God of the Bible may be a union of deities. We will also consider what implications this had for the relationship between Enlil and Enki, especially in the context of the Great Flood. We will reveal how the Anunnaki came to Earth 445,000 years ago, and how their presence and actions led to dramatic events 13,000 years ago that threatened the entire Earth. We'll reveal how Enki tried to save humans from imminent doom. We'll also explore the possibility fate of the Anunnaki and their potential whereabouts in the present day. Finally, we will discuss the legacy of Enki, who, if he existed, has left an incredible mark on the history of mankind. Don't miss the next episode.